Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
And I'm Uncle Dan.
And I am Uncle Doug.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
Too true. Leaving religion is the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world.
Woo!
Things work differently now.
Never fear, that's why we're here.
We're your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields,
we're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge to build a great life.
After all, you only get the one that we know of, so you better make the most of it.
Hello, gentlemen.
Well, howdy do.
Hello.
Howdy do. It's here we are in our various studios.
Yes, the studio.
In our studio, being studious and preparing to complete yet another episode, number 179. Those are numbers. Everybody knows what they mean. It's just be warned, people, it's a little late and we're a little punchy tonight. So
yeah, maybe a little bit.
It's a little later than we're used to recording. So but it's a good time. Our pain is your pleasure.
It's past Uncle Mark's bedtime is what he's getting
Yes,
at.
very past my bedtime. But don't worry. I have an exciting segment about the future that that Dan weirdly premonished all the way through. So that was a weird moment.
I've predicted all of it.
Yes,
and then you guys
weird.
are going to predict which mid-February holiday I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, it is President's Day.
It might be.
And then I'm going to discuss whether it's okay to speak ill of the dead, even when they richly and so thoroughly deserve it.
Yeah, and so we will all disagree profoundly on that point. And I just want to clear something up. We got a lot of emails and we were attacked broadly on social media for last week's for last week's show, and I just think we need to clear the air. Your uncles are not anti-shawl. All right, we understand the hurt we caused, and we understand the pain we caused.
It's a misinterpretation.
We are not. We are pro shawl.
I think that was me.
We are anti, like with children, we are anti shawls being assigned a religion at birth. Otherwise, they're wonderful. The people who make them are wonderful. The people who wear them as they look out the window and drink their tea with both hands as the sun rises are wonderful. All of you.
They're just blankets.
I meant
it's
nothing.
It's just a blanket that you put around your shoulders.
We are decidedly pro shawl. So
I cannot believe that I got us in the crosshairs of Big Shawl.
So pull off stop sicking the K-pop fans on us. All right, we get it. So with that warm embrace, let us finish this wonderful show.
Uncle Dan.
Hey!
The future is murky.
No, the future is so bright I gotta wear shades.
The past is unknown.
The present is bullshit.
I think I had that reversed, actually. But fair enough.
The past is unknown.
The past is unknown. History is written by the victors.
But there are those among us who...
when I was a kid and people said history was written by the victors, for some reason, I thought it meant by people named Victor.
Yeah. All good historians have the same name.
I was super dumb.
You were dumb.
Well, is doing well lifting in that sentence.
Well, Victor will decide eventually.
But there are those who maybe the past, the future, the present is not so murky.
Yeah.
And I can't believe we've not talked about this before, but Uncle Mark, you might have some insight in this.
Yes, I've gazed into the future or the now, whatever. Well, now is the future. Now. Anyway. So, as our cherished listeners may know, I, Uncle Mark, am the senior and therefore most honored of the three uncles. I think I have, 6 or 7 years on you guys? And
at least.
At least.
How old are you? You're like
years.
62, right?
I'm 52, yeah.
Jesus Christ. Mark, you have your will written out, right?
Oh, I've had I grew up a queer kid in the Mormon church. I think I wrote my will when I was 11. Oh my God. And as the senior Gen Xer, there were 4 things in the popular culture of the 70s and 80s that made me think that made me think would be much bigger issues in my life than they have turned out to be. And here's the list of those things in order of most terrifying to least. So please, no children or pregnant women are allowed to listen beyond this point. Thing the first, the Bermuda Triangle.
Terrifying.
Yes. Oh my God, that was the thing in the 1970s, you guys. I was so afraid of it. And to make matters worse, my first ever airplane flight when I was 11 years old was to go with my dad on a business trip to Hamilton, Bermuda.
Oh,
That's true. The first time I ever went on a plane, the mix of excitement and terror was overwhelming. It was like touching the face of God. Of all the triangles, I was led to believe the Bermudan one was the hungriest one. Okay, thing the second, quicksand.
yep. I knew it was coming.
Quicksand may have been the leading cause of death in all of 1970s television.
It was.
There was a period where I was loath to walk on anything other than solid concrete because I thought the world was 99% human-hungry sucking mud.
I recently, just last night, Andrea and I rewatched the Swiss Family Robinson. Which,
there was quicksand in that, wasn't there?
There was some quicksand in that.
Well, you guys-
There was also apparently an Indonesian island that had ostriches and zebras, but that's okay.
Well, it's gone now. It
wasn't so much mud as it was just kind of like soft sand that you just, over the course of several hours.
just slowly died.
The
mostly
elevator
in
took
movies
you
and
down.
TV, it was just brown water.
Exactly.
Right. I should point out, I have never, in all of my travels as an adult person, ever actually come across quicksand. I know it exists, but I haven't done
No,
it.
it doesn't exist.
Doesn't it?
I don't think it's real.
Oh, we're going to get emails.
There are mud pits that I think are, maybe that was based on.
And there are sinkholes, but I don't think that there's actual quicksand. I did a little bit of cursory and not very reliable research, and I think that it's not real. Anyway, go on.
All right, we'll get emails. Thing number the third, chloroform. If you're under 40, you've likely never heard of this magic shit. But in almost every episode of every show that was on every channel between 1975 and 1984, a guy in a black turtleneck with black leather strangler's gloves and aviators would put a tiny bit of fluid from a little brown bottle onto a handkerchief, walk up behind Angie Dickinson or Angela Lansbury in a phone booth, just touch their face with it, and boom, they were out like a Tiffany desk lamp. Never face away from the door in a phone booth if you wish to remain unkidnapped in the third act, you guys.
Goodbye, millennial listeners.
And lastly, and most importantly for today, the thing I was convinced would be a serious presence in all of our lives here in 2021 was Nostradamus.
Oh, you predicted wrong.
I did. And according to pretty much every television show on at the time, the bowl-gazing prophet had and would continue to predict every major world event with staggering accuracy from beyond his grave, which had been cooling for over 400 years prior to the Leonard Nimoy narrated paranormal and cryptozoology series In Search Of.
Oh, my
that
God.
was so dominated my Saturday afternoon television consumption.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do.
I never saw it.
It's so crap. I mean, I love Leonard Nimoy, but he was just so underproduced.
I think I'm just too young for that.
There was the Star Trek cast did some wandering after the show was canceled and before they started making the movies. But who hasn't at least vaguely heard of this mysterious and totally 100% accurate prognosticator of everything that has happened over the last 500 years? Well, let me gaze into the mists of the past and tell you. Michel de Nostradame was born in 1503. He later Latinized the family's name to Nostradamus. The Jewish side of his family had converted to Christianity a couple of generations before his arrival, so they may have been some of those highly suspect new Christians we talked about with the Goa Inquisition last week.
Yeah. I don't trust him.
Anyway, he got married, had kids, then his wife and kids died, most likely of the bubonic plague. That was all the rage at the time, though it's not quite clear. He wanted to train to become a physician, such as they were at the time, and enrolled in university shortly before being kicked out for practicing apothecary on the side. Basically, he was into herbalism and tinctures and things like that.
Oh, he was crossing the streams right there.
Yeah, and for some reason that was expressly forbidden specifically in the university's charter.
Weird.
So he never actually earned whatever sort of barbaric medical degree was on offer at the time, despite practicing, quote, medicine for the rest of his life. He remarried. He had 6 kids who seemed to have survived, and he got very into astrology. Now, not only was it incredibly common for a person to be both a, quote, doctor and an astrologist at the same time, astrology and predictions, I was kind of stunned to find out, were not expressly considered heresy, and a practitioner would generally be ignored by the Inquisition, which was all the rage at the time, so long as necromancy and witchcraft were not part of making the old star charts. So weirdly, Nostradamus was considered kind of a shitty astrologer by his many competitors.
Well, there you go.
There was, after all, a, quote, science or standard practice of it, meaning most astrologers would have come up with similar star charts when they plugged in the basics of the person's birth. But for some reason, Nostradamus never plugged in the person's place of birth or the time of day of their birth and would get wildly different results, which that's just bad science, guys.
Right?
So he began to write annual almanacs that would lay out the known planetary events of the year, like eclipses, stuff like that, and what house, what planet was going to be in what house at what time of the year. And then he'd pen some little predictions in the back pages. For whatever reason, these became extremely popular, even amid a sea of popular almanacs, horoscopes, and predictions that were already on the market. But based on that success, he published his most famous work, The Prophecies, a very bizarre, non-chronological pile of quatrains, which are weird little 4-line poems collected into groupings of 100 that don't necessarily have anything to do with each other, called centuries. And while the work was dismissed by many, it caught the attention of the Queen, Catherine de' Medici. She summoned him to the palace where he assumed he was going to be beheaded. Instead, he was asked to draw horoscopes for her children. This brought him larger acceptance among France's very important powdered wig class. Anyway, he got old, he got sick, he died, and that was that for Nostradamus.
Did he know that he was going to die? Did he see it coming?
There's of course all his devotees say that he predicted his own death, but there's absolutely no evidence for that.
I'm gonna go on the record right now and predict my own death.
Yeah, I'm gonna die. I'll get back to you with the date after it happens.
Yeah.
The legend looms larger than the man ever did. And remember when I said earlier that his predictions about every major event in 5 centuries were dead on correct? Well, that was all bullshit. No,
right, of course.
Not a single one of Nostradamus's quatrains or, quote, predictions has ever been used to accurately predict an event before it happened. Never, ever, not once. Now, many...
if you're going to put that pressure on it, it has to be predicted before it happens?
Yeah,
Come on, man.
We're about to talk about postdictions.
Yeah.
Now, many of his predictions have been used to postdict, which is actually a word, or to be retroactively clairvoyant of events after they occurred, which is great for the prediction business. And before I get into the actual quatrains, aside from being obtusely vague, they are extremely problematic for a couple of reasons. First, no original printing of the book, his book, The Prophecies, exists. There are some fairly contemporary copies made by other authors a few years after his death, but no originals, and those copies have significant differences from each other. Secondly, 16th century French was very different from modern French, even more than English was and is. So people doing lazy modern French dictionary translations of the quatrains come up with translations that are wildly different from the oldest texts we have, and of course, wildly different from each other as well. Okay, so here's some of the quatrains. There are nearly 1,000 in the prophecies. You guys tell me what you think his devotees thought they predicted, or more accurately, postdicted. Here's the first one. From the enslaved populace, songs, chants, and demands, while princes and lords are held captive in prisons. These will be in the future by headless idiots, be received as divine prayers. What do you think? Any thoughts on what that?
Zeppelins.
I'm going to go with Diana Ross.
Dan, you're actually warmer.
Damn it.
This is said to have been a prediction of the 1789 French Revolution. Oh. Yes, there would be princes and lords in jail, and There would be headless, quote, idiots, but for a man mindful of the wrath of both the monarchy and the Inquisition in the mid-16th century, and indeed anxious to curry favor with both, it's very unlikely he would label the future God-anointed but beheaded royalty headless idiots.
Right.
How about this one? Hercules, king of Rome and of Animarch, with the surname of the chief of Triple Gaul, Italy and the one of St. Mark to tremble, first monarch renowned above all. I mean, that's pretty obvious, right?
Is it the Pope?
The Little Mermaid.
Dan, warmer again.
God damn it.
This one is very, very clearly predicting France's World War II leader and then Prime Minister Charles de Gaulle.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Yet other than the name commonality, Gaul, a word meaning the original French people, it has no other connection to de Gaulle. All right.
Is it connected to the airport, though?
Well, yes, it's interesting that the airport and Charles de Gaulle have the same name, but they're not related in any way.
Okay.
This one's an easy one. It's a gimme. Near the gates and within 2 cities, there will be scourges, the like of which was never seen. Famine within plague, people put out by steel, crying to the great immortal God for relief. What do you think?
It's got to be the Tale of Two Cities?
Well, it is about 2 cities. It's going to be.
I am not doing well right now, so
Yeah, I got nothing. What do we got?
All right. It's also important to remember his quatrains were not laid out in any sort of chronology respecting a future calendar. And only 3 out of almost 1,000 had any dates at all attached to them. Well,
it's the 27 Ronin.
well, that is obviously a clear as day prediction of the twin bombings of Nagasaki and Hiroshima in the summer of 1945.
I was in the right country.
Do I have to spell it out for you? Okay, here's one of the most often cited quatrains. This one is a real mic drop for Nostradamus stands, and it's a rare double quatrain. Okay, here's quatrain the first. From the depths of the west of Europe, a young child will be born of poor people. He who by his tongue will seduce a great troop. His fame will increase towards the realm of the east. And the second one, beasts ferocious with hunger will cross the rivers. The greater part of the battlefield will be against Hister. Into a cage of iron will the great one be drawn when the child of Germany observes nothing.
Okay, I actually remember this one from the documentary that he got Hitler's name wrong by 1 letter. Mm-hmm. So it's right because it was Hister, not Hitler.
You're very, very warm. In fact, you're red hot.
It's Hitler. Yes, it's the World War II.
Yes, this is the famous premonition about the rise of Adolf Hitler in World War II.
Ding ding. What do I win?
All of it.
I was going to say it was about Gerard Depardieu starring.
God. Yeah. Okay. You are in the Nostradamus business here because you'll see in a minute. This is the famous premonition about Hitler. Never mind that Hitler was not born out of poverty, but comfortably the middle class.
Right.
The thread this yo-yo hangs on is the word, as Doug said, Hister. His devotees demand, see, he was just 1 letter off of Hitler's name.
Right.
So close enough is as good as for prophecy as it is for horseshoes and hand grenades, I guess. And that would be impressive if the word Hister didn't mean something else entirely. Right. It is commonly known as the Latin name for the Danube River.
Okay, sure.
Oh, well, at least you tried. Okay, here's a big one. You ready? This is another double quatrain, so just get the imagery in your head.
Okay.
In the year of the new century and 9 months, from the sky will come a great king of terror. The sky will burn at 45 degrees. Fire approaches at the new great city. And here's the second one. In the city of God, there will be a great thunder. 2 brothers torn apart by chaos. While the fortress endures, the great leader will succumb. The third big war will begin when the city is burning.
I know
this one's easy. This one's easy. It's WrestleMania. It's to do with Ric Flair and it's Trump Jr. It's Trump Jr. and Eric.
What do you think, Doug?
It's Thanos. It's obviously Thanos.
Well,
That's what I said. Trump Jr.
You're both pretty cold. That is clearly predicting the attacks of September 11th, 2001.
Oh, right, of
God.
course. Yeah.
What's most interesting about Nostradamus writing that is that he didn't. Not a single word of it. The second quatrain was written in 1997 by a Canadian college student named Neil Marshall to illustrate how useless and fungible Nostradamus's predictions could be by inventing a fake one for discussion in an online essay.
Oh, that's
I love
awesome.
The first quatrain was written and tacked on to the second one after the attacks by some anonymous internet Nostradamustan. So the entire thing is a turducken of fabrication. Half to demonstrate the absurdity of Nostradamus's predictive value, and the other half to unironically drive the point home.
That's fantastic.
It's 100% fake, but constantly cited as real, as proof of his prognostications by his fans. So in addition to the vaporous vagueness of the secondary, quote, original source material and the often terrible mistranslations of them, there is a massive cottage industry of fake, altered, or Frankendomist, that's a word I made up, fakes. And that seems to be the bulk of the In Search Of and the History Channel funneled misinformation on Nostradamus out there. There are many Nostradaminican, that's another word I made up, thank you, prophecy inflators out there, but one of the worst offenders was Erica Cheatham, who wrote several highly embellished, quote, biographies of the 16th century prophet, fudging and grinding his quatrains madly to force them to predict future events. And when the dates certain came and went, she just put out a new edition with freshly moved goalposts, awaiting the football that would never pass through them once again.
Yeah.
That's
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Can I make a prediction that it's never a good idea to listen to a woman named Cheatham?
Yeah.
Or a man.
That's a man. Sorry.
No, it's a woman, Erica. Her 1965, quote, work, The Prophecies of Nostradamus, The Man Who Saw Tomorrow, went on to be adapted into a, quote, documentary featuring Orson Welles in 1980.
Amazing.
It is an incredibly fabulous failure of historical research and scholarship featuring incredibly corny and underproduced historical reenactments that actual scholars of Nostradamus's life and of the time period say are totally absurd. And I know it's hard to believe that the titan of cinema, Orson Welles, would get himself mixed up with such embarrassing rubbish.
No.
But then you might not know about the late stage Orson Welles and the kind of work he was willing to take.
Yeah, I was going to say it doesn't take Nostradamus to predict that Orson Welles will take your $250
Exactly.
to do
And a
whatever.
lobster and champagne lunch. Please
Right.
check the show notes for his attempt at making a commercial for Paul Masson champagne at about the same time. Citizen Kane, it is not.
That is one of, like, if listeners,
It's wonderful.
if you have not watched
it's amazing.
that
Yeah.
series
I
of
literally-
bloopers,
Like, as an actor, one of my favorite things in the world is to now start a line with, yeah, French
know, it just goes-
champagne.
In one of them, he just goes, "Meh." That's how he opens. The French.
Yeah.
So to finish, I would like to further prove the utter futility of looking for predictive utility in anything our dearly departed Nostradamus may or may not have written. Here are some actual quatrains of his. These are real, picked randomly from the piles, with what I think they did or should have predicted, and you're going to see Dan predicted something very strange here. Number one, the year that Saturn and Mars are equal fiery, the air very dry, parched long meteor, through secret fires a great place blazing from burning heat, little rain, warm wind, wars, incursions. Now this obviously predicts the startling twin events of NASA landing the Perseverance rover on the cold surface of Mars on the same day that Raphael Edward Cruz, the shame of Calgary, incursioned to the warm winds of Cancun as carefree as a child on a summer holiday on their brand new bike.
Yeah.
All right, number two. This is a real quatrain. Promptly will one build a bridge of boats to pass the army of the great Belgian prince, poured forth inside and not far from Brussels, passed beyond 7 cut up by Pike. Now, any fool could see that this presaged crazy person actor Gerard Depardieu,
Boom!
moving from France to neighboring Belgium in 2012 to avoid paying taxes and to have more direct access to mayonnaise and bountiful horse meats. Sorry, Belgian listeners.
That's a Gerard Depardieu don't.
Yeah. Boom.
Yeah, how you pulled that out of the hat earlier, Dan, I have no idea.
Because it was a stunt to hawk my new book of quatrains that will be coming out next week.
Oh, excellent. The Depardieuery.
Yeah, exactly.
Alas, what ambition foreign princes have. Take careful heed lest they come into your country. There should be terrible dangers, and in many countries, even in Vienna. This is clearly a warning to any country with luxury real estate for sale to beware the Trump princelings arriving on your shores with shady investment streams.
That's two that
That's
I
also
predicted.
two. They will welch on all debts and consume all your cocaine, White Claw, and Vienna sausages. Number 4, the great credit of gold and abundance of silver will cause honor to be blinded by lust. The offense of the adulterer will become known, which will occur to his great dishonor, which, of course, is a prophecy about Trump fixer Michael Cohen writing a check for $130,000 out of his own bank account to pay hush money to adult film actor Stormy Daniels to keep her quiet about what she has described as, quote, the worst 90 seconds of my life.
I think what you've just done, Uncle Mark, is disproved your own thesis about his non-predictive abilities, because clearly you figured out what he was talking about.
Boom, the Ouroboros, I have come full circle. The snake is eating its tail.
That's right.
And finally, number 5, the cause of her death will be issued from Florence. One time before drunk, by young and old, by the 3 lilies, they will give her a great pause, save through her offspring as raw meat is dampened. This obviously predicted the death of the beloved Mrs. Brady, Florence Henderson, at the hands of the disgraced racist TV chef Paula Deen via carelessly over-moistened meat in what would prove to be Mrs. Brady's final, fatal, and very damp chicken fried steak. So, that's the story of the prophecies of Michel de Nostradamus, everyone. There are not prophecies there at all. They are at best Rorschach tests, giving any reader of them the ability to reflect their own time and place in history and their own judgments into what are just amusing, meaningless haikus. And remember, what we always say, it's usually when we're talking about the Bible, if a thing can mean anything, it means nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, go ye forth and eat some damp meat.
Yes, I love that. I literally just clicked through the whole catalog of his things, and that was one. Saved through her offspring as raw meat is dampened.
I think
Yikes.
damp meat is just meat. Non-damp meat is jerky.
I feel like I am going to start a metal band called Damp Meat.
And I think the level of dampness either goes from just wet meat or all the way to stew. So
Yeah, there you go.
that you have Nostradamus to thank for that recipe. So that's it,
Damn
guys.
I can't believe you got to do Nostradamus. That pisses me off.
Yeah, you know what? There's so much fucking bullshit out there about him. It's really hard to find, critical critiques. It's kind of difficult.
I have to do flat earthers. You get to do Nostradamus.
You should have predicted it.
And the History Channel is still hawking him as a prophet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's garbage. Anyway, that's that.
All right.
All right.
Moving
Let's
on.
move on.
Uncle Douglas. Mm-hmm. You and I think we include Dan in this, we celebrate pretty much everything.
We're a celebratory crew.
Yeah, we're a celebratory crew. I keep cases of champagne on hand in case, it's something on either the Julian calendar or one of the other calendars comes up.
Well, everybody knows about my famous Arbor Day blowouts.
Oh, yes, when we chop down all the trees in your neighbor's yards.
My Arbor Day bonfires.
Yeah.
But I think Dan has special holidays he likes to celebrate.
Well, interestingly, we just passed a holiday, and we here on the show made absolutely no mention of it last week. And in this, the worst possible timeline, I'm guessing that, like me, many of our listeners did little to nothing to celebrate. Mid-February can be a bit weird for some, and I don't blame them. By the way, do you guys know why this month is called February?
I do.
Oh, okay, well, put a pin in it.
Yeah. We actually talked about this in one of our episodes, but yes, I won't say anything.
Put a pin.
Yeah.
First, let's talk about the big holiday. Let's go back to Rome, 3rd century. No, not that 3rd century, though. 3rd century BCE. Oh, sorry. Did you think I was going to be talking about St. Valentine? You stupid uncles. Today, we're discussing the holiday that used to be celebrated mid-February, which, in the fine Christian tradition, was subsumed by a far more boring celebration. Today, we're going to talk about Lupercalia.
Oh.
From the song, Lupercalia, No, Lupercalia. The reason I want to go back to the 3rd century BCE is that that's where we get the earliest written account of the story of the founding of Rome. I don't want to get too into the weeds here, but let's start with Remus and Romulus. As the story goes, and I'm sure that when you hear it, you'll agree that it must be 100% true, Romulus and Remus were born in a kingdom called Alba Longa, in what we now call Italy, sometime in around 750 BCE. Now, their mother, Rhea Silvia, also known as Aelia, though I don't know why, was the daughter of King Numitor, who had been knocked off the hill by his brother Amulius, so he was king now. Now, Rhea Silvia was a priestess to the goddess Vesta, known as the Vestal Virgins, but she seems to have lost that title when she was visited by the god Mars in a grove dedicated to him. She became pregnant, which really pissed off Amulius and knocked her off of that Vestal Virgin pedestal. She pissed off Amulius mainly because any sons she had might be considered to have rightful claim to his throne. So, when she delivered twin boys, he commanded that they would be drowned in the Tiber River. Now, Tiberinus, anyway, the god of the river, saved the boys and dumped them on a bank right in the middle of modern Rome. There wasn't really anything there at the time. Then a she-wolf found them and took them to a cave in a hill and suckled them to keep them alive. As you know, wolves are notoriously kind to helpless little creatures.
Yes, it's a fantastic image, the she-wolf, the famous Roman she-wolf of the Republic.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Then a shepherd found them and raised them, and a bunch of stuff happened, and they decided to found a city together, but argued over where to start. Romulus wanted to start the city on the hill where the cave was, where their wolf mom took care of them. Remus wanted to start on a different hill. I don't know why you have to start a city on a hill, but you do. And Romulus killed Remus, and boom, Rome. Anyhow, that cave in what is now called Palatine Hill, or Palatino if you're Italian, that's at the center of Rome. That cave was known as the Lupercal, from the Latin lupa, meaning female wolf. The Lupercal, as you might have guessed, was the center of the celebration of Lupercalia. So, what was this delightful holiday all about? Well, it seems to have started as a series of purification rituals. The second month of the Roman calendar was apparently a time of purification. It was named after Februa, the plural of februum, which was anything, a februa was anything, or a februum was anything used to ritually purify. So purify what? Well, houses, fields, buildings, but mostly people. If you had any sins in you, you needed a way to cleanse them out, and that's where the februa come in.
It was kind of Roman sober January, right? Just gotta do your juice cleanse.
The opposite of that.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Yeah, so in the second month of the year, there was a festival of Februa. But by far the most popular part of Februa, and what later became the only part that anybody cared about, was Lupercalia, which took the idea of purification and really ran with it, naked, through the streets. We'll get there. On the 15th of February, a group of strapping young priests known as the Luperci, which roughly translates to Brothers of the Wolf, or, I don't know, wolf monks, something like that. They would go into the Lupercal to make a sacrifice. Sacrifice to whom? Fuck you, that's to whom, because we don't actually know for sure. It may have been to the god Faunus, who is the Roman equivalent of the Greek Pan, or to Inuus, who may have been a version of Faunus, but was all about the sexy time. Or maybe even a wolf goddess called Luperca, but that one seems most spurious. Whoever it was to, it was a weird sacrifice. Now, normally for a sacrifice, you would kill a commonly eaten animal like a pig or a bull or a lamb. For Lupercalia, the Luperci would sacrifice one or more goats and, brace yourselves, all you sensitive folks, a dog. Then the two of the young Luperci would be chosen, and goat's blood would be smeared on their foreheads with a knife, and then someone would dip some wool into some milk and clean that blood off, and they'd all have a good laugh. No, really, that was part of the ritual. They had to laugh. I have no explanation for that, but it seemed like it was pretty important.
It's so funny how cultures, something starts and then maybe, a few hundred years later, you're like, I have no idea why we do this, but we do.
Exactly. But yes, it became very important that the guys had to laugh after the blood was cleaned off of their face. After the sacrifice, everybody in town has a feast. And if you know anything about Roman feasting, you know that wine was involved, and likely not a small amount of wine, which may be why the next tradition developed. Luperci would skin the goats, cut the skin into thin strips, which almost all the articles and papers that I read about this insisted on calling thongs. And then these groups of young priests would run naked through the streets of Rome, whipping any woman they saw with the fresh-cut goat flesh. Fun, right?
Hold on. What day does this occur? I've got to put something in my calendar.
Right?
I mean, not the whipping the women, the other bit, but...
Yeah. Well, and the question then becomes, why whip women? Well, this purification ritual was aimed at fertility. Idiots in ancient Rome had no idea that men could be infertile too, so it was all about those ladies. And the women were into it, apparently. If a woman wanted to get preggers, she made sure to be out there ready for her whipping. It may have been that the women stripped down, too, to expose their flesh for the whip. Or maybe just because they were drunk and public nudity is fun.
Hang on, what day is this?
Yeah, it's the 15th. 15th. Just, I
think we're going to have a meetup next year in Rome on the 15th.
We're bringing it back. Now, even women who were already pregnant would present themselves to be whipped because it was thought that it would make for an easier delivery. Or maybe she just liked being whipped by a naked young man. Could have something to do with that, too. Yeah, we're not
kink-shaming. Good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So those goat thongs, by the way, were februa. They were used for cleansing and purification. So when you think of February, think of drunken naked goat whipping.
Always do.
I hope you do.
When I'm in the Hallmark store, I'm like, where is that card? There.
It's named after it, for God's sake.
That's right.
There was also traditional Lupercalia key parties. That's not the official title for the event, but men, presumably single men, would all get together and randomly choose the name of one of the presumably single women out of a jar, and those two would pair up for the day. Because you never know. Maybe a random jar meeting on Naked Whip Day will lead to the love of your life. Now, Lupercalia was pretty long-lasting and a prominent celebration. It was on Lupercalia in 44 BCE when Mark Antony, who apparently was a grand poobah of the Luperci himself, tried to present Julius Caesar with a crown. This was almost certainly just a bit of political theater, but man, when Caesar turned that crown down, saying that Jupiter was the only king of Rome, the crowd went ape shit. They loved it.
Oh.
Now, it's interesting. I am very familiar with Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, and this may come back later in the show. I've never been in a production of it, though.
Oh.
But I've read and seen it many, many times. And interestingly, the first scenes of the play take place on Lupercalia. There's a moment where Caesar actually mentions Antony doing the run, that Luperci run. I always breezed past it. I just, I would read a quick footnote that it was a reference to some ancient Roman holiday, but I never knew what it was.
Huh.
Caesar actually tells his wife Calpurnia to stand directly in Antony's path as he runs and commands Antony to make sure to whip her, and actually in the Shakespeare it says touch her. But now that I know what it was all about, he was telling him to whip her.
Right.
Why have I never seen a production where Antony and a bunch of other dudes run around naked whipping ladies? I feel ripped off.
Royal Shakespeare Company, get on this.
RSC, come on. Yeah, you already did the one that was set in modern Africa. Now let's go back to Rome and do some naked whipping. So there is some disagreement between sources on what became of Lupercalia. At one point, it seems to have gotten out of hand. I read about a mosaic that was depicting two men holding down a naked woman while a third gleefully whips her thighs. She did not seem to be enjoying herself, so that's not good.
That's called the full gates.
Yeah, that's called the Trump times. But this tradition lasted a long time. It wasn't until the turn of the 6th century CE that a pope finally put the kibosh on it.
Really?
By then, it seems to have gotten a lot tamer, of course. Everybody was clothed. Ladies were just holding out their hands for a gentle whipping. It was a lot more boring. Nevertheless, Pope Gelasius I decided that...
Gelasius. I didn't even know about that pope.
Yeah, apparently there were two of them. Decided that enough was enough. The locals, including the bigwigs, were pissed. So this was almost 2 centuries after Rome became a Christian state, and every pope before him had allowed Lupercalia. But he argued that you can't just stamp out all of the heathen fun at once. You have to slowly torture it to death, and this was the final gurgle. He even mentioned that if the governors were so fond of the holiday, why didn't they run around naked like back in the olden days? So apparently, this was not an invitation to go have more fun, which is how I would have taken that. Like, oh, you Pope, you say we can go run around naked like the olden days?
Yeah, it's a command from the Pope. What are you going to do?
It was instead, it was a way of pointing out that they weren't doing it right anyway because they knew in their hearts that prudishness was the best. And thus, in the year 494, it died, sort of, officially. And then, 2 years later, 496, Pope Gelatinus officially established February 14th, the day before Lupercalia, as the feast day in honor of a guy who died way back in the year 269. Now, there's no evidence to say that he did that directly in order to subsume the celebration of Lupercalia, but it's likely that if everybody feasted St. Valentine on the 14th, they weren't likely to feast again the next day. It's just too much feasting.
Okay, so gelatinous.
No, that was a joke.
Okay.
The name, the actual name is like that.
Okay.
Where is it?
It's Jellyneck, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Jellyneck.
If you don't count the Avignon popes, there have been like 300 or something. So it's hard to know all their names.
I think it says something about naming popes that I thought gelatinous was probably a true name.
Well, especially because you choose your own.
It
Exactly.
was Gelasius.
Okay.
So I just said gelatinous because that's a funnier word.
You got me.
Boom.
It's just Italian for gelatinous. Everybody knows
exactly. So there you go. Another fun holiday is steamrolled by a less fun holiday. Now, unlike Christmas and Easter, not much of Lupercalia made it through to how we celebrate Valentine's Day. It's possible that some of the purification rituals actually transferred to the Feast of the Purification of the Blessed Virgin Mary, also known as Candlemas. That happens on February 2nd. It's also possible that things like, the colors red and white, which are commonly associated with Valentine's Day, came from the blood on the forehead and the milk-soaked wool. But all of that is just speculation.
Kind of speculative.
Yeah.
Huh.
Anyway, fellas, next year, if you space it and forget to get your girl something nice for Valentine's Day, instead of panicking, just give her a knowing wink and say, "Just you wait." And then the next day, get naked and whip her.
Whip her with a fresh piece of ghastly, bloody goatskin.
I feel
Yes.
like February 22nd or whatever it is, the day after of 2022, I'm going to be talking to HR.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, when we talked about Moloch way back, the Canaanite god that children were sacrificed in, that they
Right.
threw babies into. So I can't remember the exact connection to Februa, but I think that part of it might they replaced the actual sacrifice of children with people running, either jumping over or running between two fires as part of the purification thing.
Oh, there you go.
So I think that was probably a saner choice.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. So
Well,
excellent.
there you go.
There you
Go
go.
out and
I didn't
celebrate
know
your
anything about that.
Lupercalia.
Oh, and also I think our Satanist friends celebrate Lupacabria. No, I do. I think it's kind of a on the Satanist calendar as kind of a hedonist holiday.
Yeah, why not? It's
Why
fun.
not? So there you go.
All right.
Always get permission to whip somebody. Let's move on.
Let's do it.
Fellas,
Hello.
I'm glad you're still here.
You caught me
listen,
mid-beverage. I'm sorry.
We do the show for free. It's free for everybody, but certain people are very, very kind. They love us the most, and they are. And if you have a little bit of cash lying around, why not give it to your favorite uncles? 2/3 of us don't even have jobs anymore.
That's right. A full
So,
2/3.
1/3 of us wishes he didn't.
Right. The other one wants to quit. So make it happen for us. We have some people to thank. Thanks so much. First of all, to Dale, to Wise Ass Wendy, to Michelle, to other Michelle, to David, and then we're gonna have to dish out some saints here. So Uncle Mark, will you give a belated saint to Carrie, please?
I will. And Carrie, thank you for sending us a note that somehow we had missed you. Your patronage is retroactive. But before we do that, I want to say really quick, we also had a lovely donation on PayPal from our friend Susan Turpin, who just said, this is just for being you guys. Incredibly sweet, Susan. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you.
Yes, so Carrie, of course, your retroactive saint is Saint. I'm trying to get in the headspace. The Saint Squidmaster of the French Antarctic territories, who of course is the patron saint of singing cowboys, the Lesser Rings of Saturn, and the 50th wedding anniversary of the late Dr. and Mrs. Vincent Morrison of 26 Pearl Street, Hilo, Hawaii.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Congratulations.
Solid.
Very specific saint.
Worth the wait, I should think.
Worth the wait. 100%. Uncle Doug, you have to
God.
give a saint to Melissa.
Melissa, I don't know why you drew me on the dial. I apologize. So your patron saint is Saint Germain, the Profane, of the Lower East Side of Bangladesh. He is the patron saint of yellow Legos produced before 1978.
Okay.
All musical instrument themed fashion accoutrement, so your piano ties as such,
Yeah. Sure.
and all of the maladies of the pancreas.
Oh, Melissa, you are going to be free from pancreatic maladies. I like it. Well done. And I have to do a saint too.
Oh, my God.
So My saint is to the only heathen in Idaho. And I know for a fact that's not true, but for today we're gonna make sure that you know
You're the only heathen that matters in Idaho tonight.
That's right. That's right. For right now, you are the only heathen that matters, and your saint is Saint Elba of Montgomery, Alabama, and Saint Elba is the patron saint of strange and jerky dancing, of large inflatable statuary,
Yep.
and the patron saint of anything that hovers or floats.
Oh, that's quite a broad category.
Pretty
then.
broad.
Yeah. So that's there you go. Those are the patron saints. But we have one more thing we got to do.
Good heavens.
We've got a heaven to give out, people. We've got a new person who has been who, when this person dies, this is Liliana, and Liliana, when you die, you are guaranteed to go to heaven, and here it is. You awaken, Liliana, dazed and groggy, to find yourself in a meadow next to a rocky outcrop. Confused, you wipe the goop out of your eyes, take a breath, and do your best to shake off the haziness and get your bearings. In the distance, you hear a frightening shriek like the cry of a hawk, but far more powerful. Realizing that you're pretty exposed where you are, you decide to run for the cover of the trees at the edge of the meadow. Holy shit, you say to yourself. I'm running really fast. That's when you look down and notice that your legs are significantly longer than they were before. And your clothes are different. And have the scales on your hands always been that metallic copper color? Wait a minute. But before you have time to think, a voice calls out, "Stop there, Dragonborn. These are sacred woods. It is forbidden to enter with those weapons." You look in the direction the voice came from, but see nothing. You look down, and sure enough, you have weapons. A sword at your hip, a strange-looking staff of some sort in your hand, and you're really hoping that's a dagger you feel tucked in the back of your belt. "Show yourself," you shout. Out from the shadows, a centaur emerges, and a look of sorrow in her eyes. "It is dangerous to travel alone," she says. "Where is the rest of your party?" At that moment, you hear a voice behind you. "There you are, Thava! We've been looking for you." You turn to see an unlikely band of 4 very different people, a gnome, a half-elf, a human, a dwarf, all coming toward you, as though they've known you forever. And strangely, you know them too. You all greet each other, and that's when you remember that you're all on an adventure together. Your half-elf friend turns to the centaur and says, "O keeper of the enchanted forest of Halbur, grant us access that we may..." Actually, I'm getting really hungry. Should we order pizza? That last bit sounded very different than his talking before, and his words kind of faded into an echoey ether. Suddenly, everything stops. You, the centaur, and all of your friends just sort of stand there for a really long time. That's right, Liliana. You've died and gone to RPG heaven. You're an amazing fantasy character, which is totally cool. You'll battle terrible monsters and find hidden treasures, all the while unlocking cooler powers and an amazing magic. Unfortunately, your exciting adventures only occur whenever the players decide to get together and play, so there will be weeks-long periods where you're just kind of stopped. Not really frozen in place or anything, just stopped. Sorry. But then the game will continue, and oh, the adventures you'll have. I mean, sure, you'll die sometimes, because somebody rolled some dice and it came out bad for you. But that's okay. You'll just enter another new adventure just as a different character. Eventually. And that's your eternity. Adventure, magic, mythic creatures. Periods of waiting that last much longer than the periods of action. And a destiny controlled by the random chance of a 20-sided die. Enjoy!
Wow, that actually sounds wonderful.
There you go. It's better than a lot of them. So
I would do that, yeah.
Thank you, Liliana. And
Thank you,
thanks
Liliana.
to all of our other beautiful people. Did I say David? If I didn't say David, then David, I'm thanking you too.
David!
Let's move on. Uncle Mark.
Well, hello.
If you can, I'd love for you to name a Presidential Medal of Honor winner. I mean, it's such a rare and it goes to only the greatest of Americans.
Yeah, I know that Neil Armstrong got one.
Okay. Yeah.
I know that. I think Harriet Tubman got. Harriet Tubman. She didn't exist. My God, listen to me. I know that Rosa Parks got one.
Yeah. So it's really reserved for the best American.
It tends to be.
Tends to be.
Yeah.
Really hate the way we're opening this segment because it makes me so mad.
Oh, Uncle Doug, bring us down then.
I'm going to take it away.
Yeah, get rid of it.
But we're going to get to that later on, and it is truly, and I'll retouch on this, of the many outrages of the Trump administration, and for reasons that we'll discuss, that was one of the darkest, most loathsome, infuriating moments of the entire fucking nightmare.
And it probably happened just because he knew that it would infuriate people like us.
Truly. And we'll get there, but this medal was pinned around the neck of one of history's true pieces of shit.
Yeah.
Well, dear uncles, this last week saw the passing of one, as I said, of history's great pieces of shit. After a lifetime of pumping a steady stream of vicious, racist, homophobic, xenophobic, transphobic, misogynist, bigoted, science-denying, counterproductive, cruel, mean, personal, and stupid bile into the body politic, the cultural zeitgeist, and into tens of millions of homes for over 30 years, Rush Limbaugh expelled his last halitotic breath, his last phlegm-flaked breath from his corpulent putrescence, shuffled off his mortal boil, kicked the 10-piece crispy bucket, and in every applicable way went the way of the dodo. I was not a fan. With that, I may be tipping my hand a bit as to where we'll end up in today's discussion, but with the passing of such a singular bag of dicks such as Limbaugh, I feel less the need to look for the good he may have done in his lifetime, spoiler alert, there wasn't any, but to deliver what John Oliver lovingly coined in his podcast, The Bugle, a fuck eulogy.
Yes, indeed.
Right. For in the words of Mark Antony in Julius Caesar, Act 3, Scene 2...
friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones.
Oh, excellent work.
Yay. Thank you, Dan. Oh, how I wish that were true. But unfortunately, in our culture, we have a tendency to whitewash our public figures at the moment of their passing and tiptoe away from their sins. But we'll get to that in due time. Now, I know that the show is primarily religious criticism, with the occasional, mostly unintentional funny bit tossed in. So the ugly life and far too delayed passing of a figure like Rush Limbaugh does not fit neatly into our format. Although an unfortunately influential public figure, he was not a religious one. His worldview came from from an inherent, deep-seated hate and cruelty than any kind of religiously fueled evil. And although he made common cause with many religious figures when his hate dovetailed with theirs, he was not a religious person. He never really proclaimed any religious beliefs or tenets, didn't use his daily 3 hours of hate radio to preach the Bible, and he certainly did not live a pious life.
No.
However, there may be no more consequential figure on the American right, the religious right, than this man. And you can draw a straight line from the career of Rush Limbaugh to the political rise of Donald Trump, the death of 500,000 fellow Americans to COVID because of science denialism, and the ongoing catastrophe in Texas due to incompetent governments, and for the underlying problem of climate change due to climate change denialism. Pretty much every vile and vicious thing that the right has done over the past several decades at least has Limbaugh's fingerprints on it, if not birthed in the swollen syphilitic brain of Limbaugh himself. And not for nothing, but personally, there may be no person outside of my family, with the possible exception of Joseph Smith, Mark, you and I talked about this the other day, that has done more to damage and ultimately destroy my family than Rush Limbaugh.
Yep.
And because we were nothing special, he has surely inflicted that damage on countless other families.
Yeah.
Rush ranks high on the list of destructive demagogues who, with nothing more than words, and motivated by some unknown damage or derangement, have set the American project back decades. I can only think of Father Coughlin or Joseph McCarthy and Grimace that merit mentioning in the same sentence.
I thought you almost said Gritty, and I was going to fucking throw down with you.
I found you guys are very sensitive about Gritty, so I'm going to lay that one off a bit.
Gritty is one of us. Gritty is on the side of the angels. Grimace, not so much.
Yeah. Well, nobody knows about Grimace. Grimace is the one who runs all the pedophile rings. That's the problem.
I would love for QAnon to be true to find that out. But
tell your QAnon friends for that for us, guys. Let's see if it ends up in the bloodstream out there.
Yeah,
exactly.
Let's start that one.
So, for a look back at Rush's spiritual predecessor, listen to Uncle Mark's segment on Father Coughlin back in episode 37, because on top of everything else he was, Limbaugh was not even fucking original. So today, I'd like to talk just a bit about the life and career of Limbaugh, how he became what he became, and what that has done to our country, and what his legacy will probably be. And at the end, I want to talk about the notion of whether it's kosher to speak ill of the dead at all. Although, by now, I think I've probably tipped my hand about that.
Yeah.
Well, Dan and I will probably disagree, but proceed.
We'll see where we all land.
I'll allow
Right.
it. Continue.
Limbaugh was born in Missouri in 1951, and by all accounts, including his mother's, he was unremarkable. He flunked out of college to pursue his passion, which was broadcast radio. From an early age, he dreamed of being a disc jockey, and because his father, a World War II veteran, was apparently very stoic and distant, Rush found kinship with the snarky and childish disc jockeys that predated the kind of morning zoo craze. For the love of fucking God, fathers, either hug your fucking sons from time to time or get your goddamn tubes tied.
Yeah.
Right?
Jesus Christ.
Dads, go to fucking therapy. Seriously.
Yeah.
My God. Limbaugh bounced around the dial and the country, getting turfed out of one radio job after another because, you see, he was an asshole. His demeanor and his views not only rubbed listeners and management wrong, but often made stations run afoul of the fairness doctrine. This radio regulation held that radio stations had to provide free airtime for the rebuttal of controversial views. And if we know
we need to bring that back.
Truly. And if we know anything about radio stations, they don't like to give away their airtime for free. But then Ronald Reagan, on his own crusade to do to the American government what Rush was trying to do to the American culture, repealed the fairness doctrine in 1987, and Rush was the first person to rush into that void. Although his show would change stations over the years, by 1990, what we all know and hate as the Rush Limbaugh Show was fully formed. Just in time for the election of Bill Clinton, having what he considered to be the perfect foil in Clinton, his wife, and famously his daughter, whom he compared to a dog on more than one occasion, Rush's show catapulted to the top of the charts.
His preteen daughter at the time.
His preteen daughter, a young girl with braces who, was, just trying to survive in that environment.
Right.
He is credited with aiding Newt Gingrich to take in the take-back of the House of Representatives in 1994 after 40 years of Democratic control. So grateful were the House Republicans, they made Limbaugh an honorary member of their caucus. The Republican Revolution, quote-unquote, and subsequent impeachment of Clinton cemented Limbaugh as a kingmaker on the right and required listening for anyone who called themselves a Republican. Eventually, copycat competitors would eat into his market share, but Limbaugh's influence would never really wane in Republican politics until his death only days ago. Sometime in those early years, a lonely and angry Mormon housewife in Salt Lake City happened upon his show, and once the dial was set to his daily rants, it would never move. Our mother was an early and enthusiastic fan, an OG, you might say. If Limbaugh had ever been released on vinyl, our mother would have had all the albums, the singles, and the B-sides. And what was it that she and millions of our fellow countrymen were listening to for 3 hours every single day of the week? Well, Rush's style was bombastic, know-it-all bully. He was blustery, loud, and pompous, and his audience lapped it up. Here, for example, is how he began his show every day. This is the Rush Limbaugh.
Friends, Romans.
Exactly.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I thought I was going to
You came in late. Wait.
This is Rush Limbaugh, the most dangerous man in America, with the largest hypothalamus in North America, serving humanity simply by opening my mouth, destined for my own wing in the Museum of American Broadcasting, executing everything I do flawlessly with zero mistakes, doing this show with half my brain tied behind my back just to make it fair, because I have talent on loan from God.
Did he actually say that?
Yep.
Every fucking day. Every time he
Wow.
opened his show. Yeah. The pomposity. Okay, but that's not even the worst of it. Like, if that was all it was, his just boorish pomposity, then nobody, least of all me,
Who
would give a
cares?
shout
Yeah.
about that. Yeah, give a shit about this gas bag. There are two real issues with Limbaugh that should be mentioned here: what he said and what he represented. But before we go down that road, it bears mentioning that Limbaugh always believed that he was slaying it, that he was the funniest man alive. And as we'll discuss in a minute, I've imbibed a disproportionate amount of this bile. And one thing I can tell you is that he was not funny. Not just because humor at some level needs to be self-deprecating, and it's best when it's punching down, two things that Limbaugh never did,
Right.
but also because there is some craft to being funny.
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Punching
it's best
up.
when it's punching up. Right.
Pardon me. Exactly right. When you're punching up. Exactly.
Yeah. And he never punched up.
Punching down, he was really good at.
I completely true. Yeah, thank you. For the purpose of this podcast, I endeavor, sometimes successfully, sometimes even intentionally, to be funny. Both of you are funny. We are in league with some very funny people in the podcast universe, and baby, Limbaugh was not funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
so true.
He was just fucking mean.
mean, always
Yeah.
mean. So let's talk for a second about what Limbaugh has spent the last 30 years spewing. He was astoundingly racist, once
Yeah.
telling a black caller to, quote, "take that bone out of your nose and call me back."
Yeah.
And that's, again, I'm only sampling. He was shockingly homo and transphobic, even running a recurring segment during the 90s where he read the names of AIDS victims and made fun of them on air.
Yeah, like after they've died.
Yeah, dead,
Right.
dead,
And just ordinary people, not public figures, just ordinary people.
ordinary people.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind, anybody who wants to call us out for speaking ill of the dead.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's turnabout is fair play at some level.
Exactly.
It's got to be.
He was unbelievably anti-immigrant, often referring to wetbacks, towel heads, other epithets that I cannot repeat on here, or I won't. He was absolutely anti-science, claiming that evolution, climate change, and green energy were hoaxes. And, of course, he was famously, disgustingly anti-feminism.
Yeah, and just to remind everybody, this is a man, and not that not that everybody needs to go to college or everything, but this is a man with essentially no education.
Yeah, exactly.
He spoke about these things as if he was an expert. He knew nothing.
He knew nothing, and not for nothing. He was, and we can talk about this as he approached the end of his life. He didn't have an evolution. He didn't have a personal journey. No, what he said, 30 years ago was what he was saying 4 days ago, right? Like,
Yeah.
like many of us, we have a journey. We grow, we learn, we improve. Rush Limbaugh was kind of out of Minerva. He was what he was from the beginning.
Go with what works, man.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The guy got wealthy off of not improving.
Like I didn't write a segment about his wealth here, but his wealth is shocking and horrifying.
Yeah.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
He became incredibly wealthy. Anyway, he not only coined the term feminazi, but got into one of the most repulsive flame wars of the entire pre-Trump era. In 2012, a woman's rights activist named Sandra Fluke was advocating for contraception to be covered by insurance in the same way that, say, Viagra was.
Right.
That's called foreshadowing. Limbaugh was enraged by this uppity C word daring to advocate for the health of her gender. And so he said the following on air, broadcast to 30 plus million homes. He said the following, quote, "What does it say about the college co-ed's Susan Fluke?" He mispronounced her name, who goes before a congressional committee and essentially says that she must be paid to have sex. What does that make her? It makes her a slut, right? It makes her a prostitute. She wants to be paid to have sex. She's having so much sex she can't afford the contraception. She wants you and me, the taxpayers, to pay her to have sex. He followed up with this. So, Miss Fluke and the rest of you feminazis, here's the deal.
Jesus.
If we are going to pay for your contraceptives and thus pay for you to have sex, we want something for it, and I'll tell you what it is. We want you to post the videos online so we can watch.
Fuck. Such a scumbag.
How did the religious right embrace this man?
Because the
thing.
religious right is loaded with misogyny. Like, this is not...
Well,
Exactly.
yeah, but also he's advocating for pornography.
For live pornography. There is so much wrong with that.
I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah, but he didn't. He paid a cost in the sense that for a period of time, he did lose some sponsors, and he did lose some local affiliates dropped his show for a time. But before long, he was back to his former malignancy, and not for nothing, but the religious right couldn't have cared less. Right. Because they're so anti-contraception.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is also bizarre. Like that's
I know.
That's an anti-abortion pill right there.
And you might be
for it.
going to discuss this, Doug, but you know, he's such an asshole, and he knows so little about anything that he thinks that birth control pills are like Viagra.
Exactly.
And that you have to take, like, he has to take Viagra. He had to take Viagra every time he wanted to have sex. So that's how birth control works. That's how
exactly
the pill
right.
works. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what he thought, is that a woman needs to take a birth control pill every time she wants to have sex. And again, the religious right didn't say a fucking word about this.
Right.
It's so
repugnant.
So repugnant. Now,
and bizarre. Just completely incoherent.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. I'm sampling from a list that is basically fucking endless.
Yeah, it's
Every
3 hours
day.
a day for 30 years.
Every day, Limbaugh said things that would offend any kind of enlightened sensibility, right? Believe me, I know. Here's the thing. I am a bit of an expert on Rush Limbaugh, unfortunately. Not only was he kind of a constant presence in the last few years before I moved out of my parents' house, because our mother had him on all 3 hours every day.
Yeah, the radio turned all the way up.
Every fucking day.
Yeah.
But I kind of got into him in the 2000s. And to be clear, I listened to him ironically and anthropologically. but I listened to him a lot, nearly every day.
I can't believe you did that.
I did for years and years. I just listened. I would always listen to Rush Limbaugh, and I never, ever did it because I thought he had a good point, but because it was kind of fascinating and shocking. And there must have been a part of me that was like, this guy basically ruined my family. I want to hear it.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, whatever gravitational pull he might have, it never affected me. And I'm not bragging. It was always self-evidently stupid, boorish, mean-spirited, and awful.
Yeah.
Right? But I listened to him almost every day. And I can tell you a couple things about his show. One, he was not at all, ever, even a little bit, funny. And secondly, every hour of every day that he was on broadcast, he said something terrible, awful, vile, cruel, and shocking. Every hour of every day. And this was pumped into tens of millions of houses for 3 hours a day for decades. Right?
Yeah.
And businesses. I would go to, I'd go someplace to pick up an order, for something, and they would have it just be playing on the radio in a business.
Exactly. There's one thing I did learn about his style, and this is, a point of personal privilege. I did kind of figure out that he had a certain way of being between, a catheter and boner pill commercials. What he would do is he would talk about an issue very superficially and from a very specific point of view to kind of get your blood boiling. And then before you could kind of drill down or really think about it, he would pivot to the next one.
The old switcheroo. Right.
Yeah. So he'd, feminazis doing this, women, this, that, pivot. The climate hoax, this and that. They're trying to take away, Pivot. Mexicans are coming to take your jobs. Pivot. Boner pill commercial.
Yeah.
3 hours a day, every day for decades. So, and this is not even to mention his lifestyle. He was thrice divorced, 4 times married. In 2006, he had a pretty famous incident where on the way back from the Dominican Republic, he had a entire bottle of Viagra pills confiscated by customs and a prescription that wasn't even his.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was clearly a sexual tourist in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
And he was, this became a thing. And he said on his show, quote, "I had a great time in the Dominican Republic. I wish I could tell you about it." So we know what he was doing. And God only, what the depravity that he probably was up to is not known.
Yeah.
In 2001, he began to go deaf ironically, but it didn't stop him. By the time he died last week, he was 100% deaf.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 100% deaf, which, Beethoven, he was not. So finally, we're getting there, but what he represented is the other vile thing about Rush Limbaugh. What he said was so vile and so terrible, and it was delivered every day to millions of households, but what he represented was what happened in America, and it may be Rush Limbaugh's fault, and it certainly gave space for Donald Trump, is what happened to just living a good life and being a good person for its own reward, for its own sake, right?
Oh, you mean a suckers game?
Right, exactly.
You're talking about the suckers game?
When did being charitable and being kind become cuckold behavior?
Yeah.
Right, and that is really what Rush Limbaugh was the model for millions and millions of men in this country, including one of our brothers.
Yeah.
To be evil and mean and cruel and shitty.
Who was a kind person and just became deranged.
And we Mark, you and I can kind of mark this. He began listening to Rush Limbaugh when he was a good, kind person, and by within years, he became a version of Rush Limbaugh.
He became somebody that I am worried is a threat to himself, his own family, and others. Yeah,
that's absolutely true. And just he gave space for so many men particularly, but women of course, but to be assholes, and to be righteous about being assholes.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
I mean, you talk about the men, but I mean, the Karen phenomenon is real too.
100%.
That's him also.
Yeah,
100%.
Our mother had an enormous amount of misogyny, and she hated women. So he spoke right to her soul.
That's absolutely right. And the thing is, you can't. This stuff was pumped in hour after hour, day after day, year after year for decades into so many homes. The damage this man has done. And although he never was really, I never heard him talk about Trump. I certainly never heard him talk about Jesus. Let's put that down. I never heard Trump talk about Limbaugh talk about the Bible, but I never heard him talk about Trump. But what he did was tend the garden and till the soil that the weed of Trump would eventually grow in the Republican Party.
He laid the pipe for white male American assholery to be the ascendant political sign of the zodiac. Yes, absolutely.
There would be
he's the grandpapa of Proud Boys.
Right, exactly. And the people who've come after the Hannitys and the Becks and the Carlsons and the Bartiromos, they're all copycats. They're all echoes of what Limbaugh did. And to the point you made at the beginning, Dan, for a man who's done so much damage personally to me, and I'm a white man, I'm a straight white man, right? Like I was never his target I was never the person he was actually targeting.
Right.
To see that when Trump announced at the last State of the Union that he was getting the Medal of Honor and he was there, and he faked, "Oh, me? Oh, my God," and started crying when it had been announced for days that he was getting the Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
Right.
Not the Medal of Honor, the Medal of Freedom, excuse me. And Melania pinned it around his stupid neck at that moment. It was so disgusting and repulsive and hurtful. A man who had dedicated his entire life's endeavor to stomping on the lesser, got that medal pinned around his neck in the fucking well of the Capitol, was one of the most repulsive things of the entire Trump administration. And that brings us...
That's
one of the things of the Trump administration.
August company right there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In a sea of awful and unworthy things that happened during the Trump presidency.
That's right.
That was an interesting highlight.
And the soiling of anything good about kind of the American,
exactly.
The just our instruments of honor just ruined everything.
Yeah, and I don't, empirically I can't say because we have a long list of things that Trump did bad. But for me personally, to see that pinned around his neck and for Limbaugh to pretend like, oh, I didn't know, it's that I won the, almost cry like a Miss America, was extremely painful. Yeah. So that brings us to the end of this, and to the discussion I want to have with you guys is this notion of whether or not we should speak ill of the dead. I've tipped my cards because I don't. When else are we supposed to speak truth about a person?
Yeah.
Right.
Part of the reason we are in so much trouble with people like him and Trump and Falwells and that whole ilk, that whole garbage generation of shitty white American men is because we refuse to speak about them honestly.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know why death is some kind of power washer that removes your sins the moment your heart stops beating.
Yeah.
Well, I will say this. I'm friends with the kids of former Senator Bob Bennett, here, senator from Utah, who, when he died, had a whole bunch of vitriol spewed at him in public forums, and they had to sort of deal with that while they were mourning the loss of their father, and that sucks.
But was that vitriol true?
No,
that's the thing,
and that's part of the distinction that needs to be made. Like, he was actually a decent guy, right, that pissed a few people off because they were listening to Limbaugh is what the problem was.
Right. He was a reliably right-wing senator.
Right.
But the people that attacked him, he was not nearly enough of that for them.
Right, exactly. He was dethroned by the Tea Party.
And Mike Lee.
It was sort of so they when they see someone die, they're very sensitive about, please don't, why they don't like hearing anyone speak ill of someone who's just died. I say, it's unlikely that any of Limbaugh's surviving family are going to be listening to the How To Heretic. So I have no problem on that front.
Well,
I'm going to go ahead and guess that most of Limbaugh's family are glad to be rid of him too. So that's just a guess.
Here's the thing is I get that. And I think speaking ill of the dead in the sense that you're speaking untruths is a very bad thing.
Yes.
But be warned, everyone, live a life where if you when you die, that there isn't that
if the truth that's spoken about you is that you are evil and that's the truth, you done fucked up.
Yeah.
So, that's on you.
I totally agree. It's like, look, I am an advocate for people not living in fear. I think that is a bad thing. I don't think people should live in fear. Mm-hmm. But mayhaps we all ought to have a little fear about how the wake we leave and what people will say about us when we're gone, because we can do fuck all about it. Right. And clearly he didn't give a fuck. Right. I mean, the last person who cared what we think about Rush Limbaugh was Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah.
Right. And he's not, look, in our patron only segment today, we talked about Mitt Romney and his politics and his morality and stuff. And let's just say that none of us are really fans, but there is kind of a spectrum of disagreement that normal people have. Right. And so, when Mitt Romney dies, we're not probably going to have a segment talking about him in the same way.
No.
Right. And Rush Limbaugh is so far outside that spectrum. It is evil. It was vicious. It was fucking destructive. And he did it for money.
Yep.
Yeah.
He didn't give a fuck. He probably really didn't give a fuck. He just had terrible opinions, and somehow he ended up making $85 million a year off of them.
Yep.
And turning our country more racist and more homophobic, more sexist in the process.
Giving sanction to the worst impulses of shitty people.
And the copycats who have followed on after him are people the likes of Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson. Like, they're worse.
Yeah.
They're worse. And so
there you go. I think we can safely say I'm glad he's dead. Piss off.
I'm glad he's
pleasant
dead.
Fuck eulogy to him.
I'm glad he's dead, and I wish he had died sooner. And I don't apologize for that.
One of the best things that evil people can do is die.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's a quote from Voltaire that I think is apt, and it is, "To the living we owe respect, but to the dead we owe only the truth."
Okay.
So live a life where the truth that's told after your death is a positive one, or shut the fuck up.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what? And when I die, I fully expect people to speak honestly about me. I wouldn't want anything else.
I cannot wait for that. Sorry.
Yeah, someday we'll get that chance, Doug.
But yeah, exactly. Like, speak honestly of me, and hopefully that the truth of my life is net positive. And if it's not, then you or anyone else cannot fucking bitch about it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking...
All right, so we're going to go breathe now. Thank you all, and let's move along.
Let's move on.
Well, friends, that's it for this week's show.
Hey, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email at howto@howtoheretic.com.
Or if you're one of Rush Limbaugh's ex-wives, you can call us and leave us a voicemail about how wonderful that marriage was at 903-88-HOW-TO, which is 903-884-6986. I'm also on Twitter at HowToHeretic.
And as always, thanks to our awesome patrons.
And thanks to our strapping naked young priest who runs through the streets naked on February 15th, Cody Layton, for editing the show.
And thanks to all of you friends for tuning in.
Bye, friends.
Bye.